Coming up, the story of a bookseller in one of the world's most beautiful cities.
A literary thriller with a philosophical bent.
Plus our distraction of the week. I'm Mel.
I'm Dave. This is the Library of Lost Time.
If you are a subscriber to our free Substack, you know that our summer vacation to Croatia, Italy, and Paris was very rudely derailed by COVID.
Yeah, we got about 3 days into about a 15-day vacation. Mel got a fever of about 102, and we spent the next couple of days trying to get back to Prague. The delta between what that week was going to be and what it turned out to be was enormous.
But looking on the bright side, there were a couple of nice moments before everything crashed and burned.
Yes.
We were able to visit one of my favorite bookshops. It's in Venice. It's beautiful. If you pay attention to Instagram will tell you that you should go to Libreria Acqua Alta in Venice. That's a used bookshop with stacks and stacks of books. Some of them are displayed inside of a wooden boat. At first, it looks really magical. But pretty quickly, you realize that the books are kind of waterlogged, and it's impossible to find treasures because it's kind of messy and overwhelming.
I love most used bookstores, and I know that it's divisive, but I don't care much for bookstores where everything is just kind of higgledy-piggledy and jumbled up.
Same. I like a curated used bookstore.
Yeah.
Having said all that, it is kind of a spectacle. So I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying don't go expecting to buy books. But I'm going to tell you where you can go to buy books. Libreria Studium. This is a beautiful little bookshop right around the corner from St. Mark's Basilica. When you're in the middle of St. Mark's Square and there's the pigeons and the throngs of tourists, you would never imagine that there's a magical haven for books just a couple of turns in the alleys away.
Yeah.
It's very calm and peaceful and very civilized inside of there. The front room has a really nicely curated selection of English language books, including shelves of novels and nonfiction books about Venice. It's like a treasure trove of books about Venice.
The first time we ever went there, I got a really nice book on the architectural details of Venice, which I still love. It's categorized by type. So here are all the windows of Venice. Here are all the doors of Venice. Here are all the little gargoyles. I find it very charming.
In addition to books about Venice, they also have non-Venice novels and nonfiction in English. So if you like to get your souvenirs from a bookshop, that is a great place to go.
Yeah.
In Libreria Studium, I found a novella called The Bookseller of Venice by Giovanni Montanaro and translated by Edward Williams. This is a very charming story about a bookseller named Vittorio. He was born in the mountains and moved to Venice for university. But a kiss from a beautiful Irish girl and her gift of the novel Moby Dick made him fall out of love with numbers and in love with literature. And for the last 20 years, he has been the bookseller in a shop he named Moby Dick. That is such a sweet premise. I wish I could read the first 3 pages of this book to you. They are perfect for setting up the character and the shop. It has a very voicey narrator who introduces us to Vittorio and shares bits of his background. And he says this: Vittorio lives not far away, where he's lived since his student days in a loft, which looks out over the red roofs of Venice, the Frari, the huge bulk of the Fenice Opera House. His life is what he always wanted. You don't get rich by being a bookseller, but that's not what you live for. And if people were to ask him if he was happy, Vittorio would say yes, and particularly now that he's fallen in love.
Oh, that's really nice.
The rest of the book, it's about 135 pages, tells the story of our bookseller's pursuit of romance and how it's complicated by a catastrophic autumn flood, the Acqua Alta that hits Venice in the fall and winter. This one, the catastrophic one, was in 2019 in real life. You might remember that. This story is infused with love for books and the people who read them, and it's an ode to the beauty and resiliency of Venice. There are stunning descriptions of the city that will make you want to go there immediately. Reading it made me homesick for Venice while I was in Venice. That is the power of this man's sentences. The author is a lawyer, And he's written a bunch of novels, but he was inspired to write this one by how the actual inhabitants of Venice pulled together in the aftermath of that flood to save the books and to try to salvage their community. And the book's last few pages are a directory of all of the bookshops in Venice. So you could actually use it as a little bit of a tour guide and visit all of the bookshops there.
It's annotated, too, the list of booksellers. You get a little bit of backstory on the bookshop, which is just lovely.
I strongly recommend going to Venice in person to get your hands on a copy of this sweet story. But if that's not in the cards right now, it's available on Kindle pretty much everywhere. It's The Bookseller of Venice by Giovanni Montanaro.
My book is Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner.
Oh, I've heard good things about this one.
Yeah. The book starts as a spy story.
I'm in.
Yep. Our protagonist, alias Sadie Smith, was once an FBI agent, but she was fired after things went poorly on a case. Little slow horses there.
I was going to say, she's a slow horse.
Yeah. She's now a freelance spook working for an anonymous organization. The book starts with her infiltrating a bunch of violent eco-activists in South France. They're definitely saboteurs. They might also be terrorists. We don't know yet, and Sadie's working on it. Mm-hmm. The leader of the eco-activists is a man named Bruno Lacombe. He's a wise, educated, passionate man who's gone full hermit. He lives in a cave, and he sends his thoughts out in email.
Wow.
Yeah. And Sadie is intercepting those thoughts. Bruno has a lot to say about human prehistory and its relationship to now. He argues that men have architected the world's destruction, and the path to redemption lies in a return to primitive times. Yeah.
I was with him in the first part.
Yeah.
But then the second part.
Yeah.
Also, that's rich that he's saying that via email, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sets up the primary conflict. Will Sadie be swayed by Bruno's idealistic and possibly persuasive arguments, or will she remain cold and professional and crush these radical environmentalists? Mm-hmm. The author, Rachel Kushner, is having a bit of a moment. She has already been up for the Booker Prize and twice for the National Book Award. The New York Times Book Review called her, quote, one of the most gifted authors of her generation.
Nice.
Yeah. I have to say, if the New York Times Book Review called me one of the most gifted authors of his generation, I would be insufferable. Excuse me, one of the most gifted authors of the generation would like some coffee over here, please? Thank you.
Put on a t-shirt.
Uh-huh. The book just came out Tuesday. It's already been longlisted for this year's Booker Prize. The Washington Post called it a thriller laced with a killer dose of deadpan wit. It's Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner.
One of my favorite things to do when we visit a new to us city is go on a self-guided walking tour.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice way to ease into the vibe of a place and also kind of walk off the ick of the transportation that you had to take to get there.
True. We usually look to see if Rick Steves has a walking tour of a place where we're going.
We do.
If he doesn't, then we start sort of spreading out our tendrils and looking for other possibilities.
The thing that I like about Rick Steves walking tours is that they usually hit like the must-see tourist destinations in the city center.
One of the things that I like about Rick Steves is that he's a better storyteller than most tour people. So he'll show you the building and tell you something interesting or three about it instead of just, this building was built in 1890 and is now used as a municipal house, whatever. Yes. And I also wanted to mention that the self-guided part is a really important part of this whole idea because we like to stop.
We do.
We like to take our time. We like to look at stuff. And we like to occasionally say, well, that coffee shop looks really nice. And then we...
Hey, a bookstore.
Yeah. Then we reroute.
So this summer, for that failed vacation, RIP, I went looking for walking tours outside of Rick Steves' offerings because we were going to places we've been before. We'd already done his walking tours.
Right.
And I learned about a company called Secret City Trails. They make city walks that are kind of gamified and you use an app, but it's not an intrusive app. You don't have to be staring at your phone the whole time. It's definitely a tool. The experience is out in the world, not in the app.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a treasure hunt for clues that lead you from one stop to another. The thing that I really liked about them is that they take you through parts of the city outside the typical tourist zone. Each walk is created by a local, and instead of providing turn-by-turn instructions, the app gives you a clue that requires you to really look at your environment. And when you think you found the right spot, you submit your answer to the app, and it tells you an anecdote or the history of the site that you're seeing.
To test it, we did one here in Prague.
We did. It took us through the Vinohrady neighborhood. That's a neighborhood that is really popular with expats for living in, and it's just adjacent to the tourist areas of Wenceslas Square and Old Town Square. So if you are visiting Prague, it's easy to get to Vinohrady, but you wouldn't necessarily go there on your own.
Right.
And our starting point, which was Náměstí Míru, in English that's Peace Square, it's filled with really beautiful flower beds and tons of benches, and then an imposing neo-Gothic church, the Basilica of St. Ludmilla. We had to start in front of the church. And the clue was a little verse about a statue in the park. To my eternal embarrassment, I felt like I'd seen the statue, but could not remember which corner of the park it was in.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like there are enough statues in Prague that it's not incredibly embarrassing that you weren't able to remember where one was.
But I literally took us to every corner of the park. I'm pretty sure it's over here. No, wait. Anyway, our assignment was to find the statue and to walk down the street that the statue was pointing to.
Yeah.
So we eventually found the statue.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really enjoyed about that experience is that it kind of made me see the park with fresh eyes again because I was looking for something specific.
Yeah.
And if you extrapolate that out to a place you've never been, it will really help you take in all of the details of the place you're visiting.
Yeah. It reframes a place, right? If you're standing in the middle of the park and somebody's like pointed all the things that are red, suddenly you're in a totally different mindset and seeing things differently, seeing things almost new.
So when we arrived at the base of the statue, we submitted our answer to the app, found out that we were correct, and got a little story about Náměstí Míru in return. And then we followed the statue's pointing finger to look for the next clue.
Yeah.
That tour took us up and down residential streets that we had not previously explored, which was really fun.
Yeah.
We saw a Baroque building that used to be horse stables. We learned that a famous Czech politician had lived in one of the houses. His bust was outside the second-story window. And we walked through one of Prague's most beautiful parks to a panoramic view overlooking vineyards and the orange rooftops. It felt a little bit like being on vacation in our hometown.
Yeah, we'd been in that park before, but I mean, if you haven't, it's a gorgeous place to be. It's a really nice little park, and I don't think most tourists would go there. It has a really beautiful overlook of part of the city, too.
Secret City Trails has tours in more than 50 European cities, including capitals like Edinburgh, Budapest, Rome, and Vienna. And then kind of second cities like Florence, Delft, Malmö, and Cologne. Some of the destinations have multiple tours. So in Venice, for example, there's a tour of the Cannaregio district. You can walk the city center, and the tour is called A Labyrinth of Mystery. You can also walk around San Marco, and the tagline on that one is that it covers the things that the guidebooks left out. Lisbon has a tour focused on fairy tales. Barcelona has one that explores secret alleys. I mean, come on. The experience is designed to be fun and interactive with more than one person, although you could certainly do it on your own. But the app has settings so you can send the game to up to 5 people's phones, and you can do it as a group. The tours take about 2 to 3 hours, unless you're Dave and Mel. And there's an option to pause so you can stop along the way for a cafe break or take photos.
The one we did here in Prague had prompts for food, too, because they wanted you to get some snacks before they took you into a park, which I thought was very nice.
Such a good idea.
Yeah.
Each of the tours costs between $20 and $30. They also have really cute gift cards and bundles of multiple tours that would be a really good gift for somebody who's going traveling. In a few months, we're going to London, and I'm pretty excited that there are 7 tours we can choose from. Or I don't know, maybe we'll just do all of them.
Yeah, just back to back. That'll take us a week and a half.
Visit strongsenseofplace.com/library for more on the books we talked about today and links to the delightful walking tours from Secret City Trails.
Thanks for joining us in the Library of Lost Time. Remember to visit your local library and your independent bookstore to lose some time yourself.
Stay curious. We'll talk to you soon.
I don't have much time. I am being transported by the Ecclesiad vessel Merkava to stand trial for heresy of the highest order. But I will not renounce my work, and to my last breath I will speak the truth of this plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The Heresies of Red Elf Buntwine, Chapter 2, coming May 1st.